I got back late last night from an amazing snowboarding trip with 7 guys. We drove Friday, snowboarded Saturday and Sunday, and then drove back to Dallas Monday yesterday. It was a short trip, but packed full of great experiences and conversations. I came home last night with so many ideas for what I wanted to talk to you about today. But you know what? It's Valentine's Day, and I'd be a moron if I missed this opportunity to talk to you about one of the most important things in my life. Probably the number one question that Sako and I get asked is, how did you guys meet? Tokyo samurai princess plus American Army hippie brat. Weird. So I figured today I'd lay it out there. Whether you're single or married, maybe our story will encourage you. Sako and I met at a super conservative Southern Baptist university. I was not conservative, nor was I Southern Baptist. Do you remember that game on Sesame Street where they'd sing, "One of these kids is doing his own thing," and they'd have 4 kids, and you'd have to figure out which one was the different one? I was that kid. Sako came from Tokyo 2 years behind me, and she is also one of a kind. I was actually one of the very first Americans Sako met when she arrived. I invited her to a party, but she wasn't so interested in getting drunk with me, so over the next 4 years we became sober frenemies. She and I would get together every couple of months, go out for dinner and a movie, then I would say or do something that would make her angry and we wouldn't talk for a few weeks. And then we'd do it all again. We were made for each other. She had a short, fiery temper, and I had a quick, sharp tongue. We were like gunpowder and fire. Good times. For the next 4 years, that was our relationship. Neither of us had any romantic interest in each other. She was a motivated, ambitious go-getter, and I was a carnal, escapist daydreamer. But because we were so incredibly different, and at times even despised each other, this kept us from stepping over a relational line that neither of us were ready for. For that whole 4-year period, we dated different people, and again, we never saw each other as potential dating material. We were just frenemies. Around the summer of 1998, I got to the bottom of my hole. I was depressed and miserable. I knew something had to change in my life. I was living in Las Vegas, and my older brother, Zach, called me from Pennsylvania and asked me if I'd play drums in a band he was putting together. I said, why not? And we made a plan to meet in Texas. Meanwhile, Sako was wrapping up her education and she needed some help on a paper she was writing. She'd met my mom before, I don't know when, but she randomly reached out to her. Now, I had a tendency of disappearing and not telling anyone. So Sako had no idea where I was or what I was up to. But I happened to just arrive from Vegas when she called my mom. And my mom said, well, Matt's here. He was an English major, so he can help you. And I was like, okay. I don't remember the paper. I don't even remember talking about the paper. But we started hanging out again. And for the first time, we talked about deep personal things from our childhoods and things from our spiritual beliefs. We never touched on those areas before because, first of all, I didn't care. And second, Sako knew that anything she said I could potentially use as a weapon against her. I was a mean person. But at this point in my life, I needed dramatic change and I was hopeless. So those things together made me a little bit softer. Within that little window of time that we started hanging out again, my parents invited both of us to go to church with them. At the end of that service, Sako and I both went down to the front of the altar and gave our lives to Jesus. In that moment, both of us felt the burden of sin lifted off of us. And suddenly our eyes were opened and we saw each other as if for the first time. A romantic switch was flipped and we got all woozy for each other. That was when we officially started our dating process. Now, I say process because we'd get together and break up nearly every other day, and I am not exaggerating. We may have given our lives to Jesus and experienced radical salvation, but we both got on that salvation train with a bunch of baggage and not a lot of character or wisdom. But that didn't stop us. 3 months later, we were engaged, and that was also on and off again for the next 6 months. And then we got married, and Sako kept a bag packed in the closet for the next 2 years. So 4 years of frenemies, 3 months of combat boyfriend-girlfriend, and then 6 months of friction-filled fiancé-dom. May of this year, we will have been married for 18 years. And you know what? We're still a pretty explosive mixture. But over the past 18 years, we've been involved in great churches. We've had wonderful leaders invest in us and help us not to kill each other. And Jesus has steadily, genuinely, completely transformed our lives. Now we take that incendiary energy in our relationship and we use it to create. We use it to innovate, to motivate. We're like two elements that when brought together create exponential energy. She and I together are capable of thinking, creating, planning, and executing on so much more together than ever we could have done apart. We went from being like this to this. This is what God does. When He is in the center of the marriage, it's no longer 1 + 1 = 2. He changes the math. He completely throws the equation out the window. First, with Him at the center of one life, He gives the power to overcome 1,000 enemies. But when He brings two together, He empowers them to overcome 10,000. Wait, shouldn't that be 2,000? Nope. A Christ-centered marriage breaks the boundaries of the natural universe. It's supernatural.